Hi there, my name's Alex, and I work at Ontario Soil and Crop as a programs analyst. And today I'm here to show you how to fill out your ASLEE energy efficiency worksheet for your large-scale energy efficiency improvements project under the Agricultural Stewardship Initiative. So just a preface here, we're going to note that there are two separate energy efficiency improvements categories. There's one that's small scale, and there's one for larger scale energy efficiency improvements projects. This video is intended to show you only the larger scale energy efficiency projects worksheets. So that'll be your LS or your ASLEE forms, which can be found under the Large Scale Energy Efficiency Improvements Program Guide under the section Documentation Required with the Application. So we're going to click on this worksheet. It's available here for download. And once you get there and download the form, it should look something like this. Keep in mind, this is ASLEE. This is associated with your large-scale energy efficiency projects. If you have the ASEEI worksheet, that is not the correct sheet. That's for the smaller scale projects. So just ensure prior to filling out this form that you've got the right form. So the first step here is we're going to describe the operation in question, the operation where you're going to propose your changes. So each column here is is going to show, say, beef cattle, dairy cattle, hogs, poultry, and so on. And you're going to list the number and type of livestock that you have in your operation. So I'm just going to copy the example here. And make sure at the bottom row to total them up by column. Next table here is to indicate the number of acres by type and crop rotation and usage for your farm business. So there are columns for acres owned, crop or pasture, acres owned for other uses, so acres in bush or woodlot, rented acres, and then irrigated acres. So again, just copying that. And ensuring that the bottom row is also totaled. Okay, so once we've described our operation, we're ready to proceed to step one. So in this step, we're going to determine the total annual baseline energy usage associated with your whole farm operation where your energy efficiency improvement project is proposed. So for this, you're going to need to refer to your previously completed energy audit, considering all sources of energy associated with your farm operation. So if you'll notice back in the program guide, another document that's required with the application would be a copy of your completed energy audit report, and that report needs to meet the minimum standards outlined in the program guide. You can click on that there in the program guide itself. So it's not really possible to complete this ASLEE form without having completed your energy audit first. This is one of the reasons that an energy audit is required with your application for the larger scale projects, because it's not really, you're going to need the numbers from that energy audit to fill in below. So we're going to start by entering the page numbers of your previously completed energy audit, where the baseline energy usage for your farm operation is described and quantified. I'm going to use the example pages 5 and 7. And then it's going to ask what the consecutive 12-month period it was that you had selected for your application. It's recommended that you select the most recent 12-month period, if possible, or if that's feasible, before your application. So since I'm giving this example in July of 2025, we're going to select August of 2024 to July of 2025. this should be reflected in your audit as well. If there was some sort of extreme event that impacted that baseline such that you don't think that the previous 12 months before applying would be representative of a true baseline. So say, for example, something major happened and you had to shut down a part of your operation for some or most of the year. You could click yes and describe the event there in this box, shut down, and then you can select an older 12-month period. In my case, we're just going to go with August 2024 to July 2025, so I'm going to check no. And from your energy audit, we're going to fill out these tables, A through G. So you'll see each table has a different energy type. Table A is electricity, table B is natural gas, table C is propane, and so on and so on. And it's asking you to complete your baseline energy usage, basically the total annual energy used by fuel source. So it's going to ask you for your provider name. And you should be getting these values ideally from your energy audit. I'm just going to use an example of 5,000 kilowatt hours. Now notice that for other energy types beyond electricity, right? So natural gas is reported in cubic meters. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fill out the cubic meters that was used. So as an example, 2,500 cubic meters, and this form is going to automatically multiply that value by a conversion factor to convert cubic meters into kilowatt hours used. So 2,500 times 10.82 is 27,050 in this case. You'll see each fuel type has its own conversion factor, 7.09 for propane, diesel is 10.74, and so on. So we're just going to fill out the tables as best as we can based on the values and the units that we have. So if I've used 2,000 liters of propane, each fuel type has its own conversion factor again. So 2,000 times 7.09 is 14,180. If you don't have a certain fuel source that you're using on your farm, you can just leave that blank or type in not applicable. And then if we go to F and G, these two tables are for alternative energy sources that aren't mentioned above. So for example, if you burn wood biomass, some producers, maybe greenhouse producers, have been known to do this sometimes in the winter. And we're going to measure this in kilograms. And let's say I burned 1,500 kilograms in total over the last year. So for the conversion factor for these energy types, you're going to want to consult with OSCIA to get those conversion factors before filling them in. I'm just going to use 2.5 as an example here. It's not 2.5 for wood biomass, but just again as an example so we can see how this table works. So 1,500 times 2.5 is 3,750, 3,750 kilowatt hours. And so once we've completed all of these tables, we'll see all these final values here in kilowatt hours summarized in this big table here. And it's going to sum up the total energy used by electricity, natural gas, propane, diesel, and heating oil, as well as any additional sources to give a total kilowatt hour value for the entire year over all energy types. So in our case, it's going to be 46,230 kilowatt hours. And this value is important because you're going to need to enter that into your application questionnaire in question 12. And so there will be a few cases like this where these values that you obtain in your ASLEE worksheet are important for filling out your application questionnaire. So basically, your energy audit informs your ASLEE worksheet. Your ASLEE worksheet informs your application questionnaire. So this is why all of these documents are really sort of important they almost rely on each other. So now that we've completed our baseline, we're going to proceed to step 2. Now this step is to estimate the change in annual energy usage associated with the implementation of the proposed energy efficiency improvement project and considering all sources of energy that might be impacted by the proposed change. It's important to note that this is the estimated project-specific energy savings. So it only has to do with the system itself that you're proposing to change, not the entire farm operation. That's going to be computed later. So what do I mean by that? So if we go into table step 2A, it uses the example here of when we're going to proceed with this example of we're applying to switch out our high pressure sodium lights with more energy efficient LED lighting. So if we have the baseline energy usage only of these high pressure sodium lights, it uses electricity at a rate of 50 kilowatt hours. And then obviously it doesn't use natural gas, it doesn't use propane or diesel or anything. So we're only going to have one column basically filled out in this case. It's possible that, you know, if there's another improvement category that you're applying for, say, for example, building envelopes, it's possible that you could save electricity, you could save natural gas for heating, and so on and so on. It's entirely possible. In fact, you know, many projects are going to have several columns filled out. This one is relatively simple, which is good for us, just as an example. So we have 50 kilowatt hours as our baseline, and then 30 kilowatt hours as our new energy usage rate. And so the final row here is going to basically subtract 30 from 50. So subtract our new value from our old value, and it's going to get you 20 kilowatt hours of savings. So that's what's going to happen in this table here below. You're going to fill this out for your respective project. So the first step for table 2A is to describe what our changes are. So I'm going to use this example. I'm going to continue with this wanting to replace high pressure sodium lights with efficient LED lighting. And again, this is a response that you're going to want to hang on to because you'll need that for your questionnaire, question 16. And so from our energy audit or from any other documentation, we're going to fill out the baseline energy value for only that system. So we're going to say, again, just filling this back out, that our high pressure sodium lights used 50 kilowatt hours. We're expecting our new energy efficient LED lighting to use 30. And you'll see that this row C here is going to subtract row B from row A. So 50 minus 30 is 20, and that's our energy savings. And again, say we're applying for building envelope. We use as a baseline 500 kilowatt hours of natural gas, and the new energy efficient building envelope only uses 300. It'll do the same thing here. And this is just to give you an idea of how this table works. So it subtracts row B from row A, and then it provides row C. It provides the answer in row C, and then it sums up all of row A and all of row B and all of row C together. So for your project, if it is something that will impact several different fuel sources, say energy in the form of electricity and then natural gas, you'll have your total value here, your total baseline associated with that system. So 550 minus 330 equals 220. So I'm just going to get rid of this because that's not in line with our LED lighting example. But again, just so you see how this table works. And so that's going to spit out the value of 20 in our case. And you're going to hang on to that value, that C value, to fill that into questionnaire question 13. Okay, but where do we get these numbers? This is really important. So your baseline, it could come from your energy audit, for example, and really we're looking primarily for the larger scale projects for you to indicate which pages of your completed energy audit you consulted to get the information of table step 2A. So you'll see that I just filled out 50 and 30 as an example. That's obviously not going to apply to your project. Your project is going to be unique because your baseline is going to be unique, and so are your energy, your energy usage rates associated with your improvement. So, and just get back down here. I'm going to say, for example, if we consulted pages 9, 10, 11, and 12 to obtain these values, we're going to report that there. And if we want to list, if there's any additional documentation, so for example, a product brochure, a quote, some letter from an expert in the field that can attest to the usage rates for example, the new energy use rates for the LED lighting, we're also going to report that in box 2 here. So boxes 1 and 2 are basically supporting these values, where we got these numbers. And it's really important that we don't just pull these numbers out of thin air. I know that I did just for this example, but we want to make sure that these numbers are backed up by something. So I'm just going to cite, I'm just going to type LED lighting brochure. And you're encouraged to submit any additional documentation alongside your ASLEE worksheet, alongside your energy audit, anything that is relevant to support these values. We really appreciate if you would mind submitting that with your application. And then all these answers are going to be used in question 17 as well. So table step 2B is where we're going to estimate the percent energy savings on an annual basis with the proposed energy efficiency improvement project. Again, this is just for the system in question. It's just for the lighting specifically. So you'll see the total C and total A have already been populated. They've been filled in from table 2A, which we have completed above. So all that's necessary now is for you to compute the percentage. So we're going to divide the total C by the total A and then multiply by 100. So just getting our calculator out here. Our total C divided by our total A times 100. And that's going to give us a 40% energy savings for our specific project. So 40% there, and we've finished step 2 now. Okay, so that was just for the project-specific system. Next, we're going to calculate the energy savings for the entire farm operation after we implement our proposed project. So, going down from table step 3, you'll see that a lot of values have already been populated. If you remember all of step 1, this is more or less the summary table from step 1. So you see 5,000, 27,050, and so on, 14,180. We'll go all the way back here, 5,000, 2750, 14,180. So all of step 1 is mostly summarized in this row here. Likewise, all of step 2 is summarized in the second row here, and that's our total C from step 2 here. And so you're going to be asked at this point to fill out these 2 optional rows. They're not going to be associated with any project, but just so you understand what they are, these are the estimated annual energy use savings in other areas of the farm as a result of implementing your proposed project. So as an example, if you are using a more energy efficient, say, TMR mixer, and because of that, you somehow need to transport fewer raw materials around your farm, but that improvement in fuel use is not going to be shown through step 2, for example, because it's not associated with the energy use rates of the TMR mixer itself. We can report those fuel savings here. So if we're using less fuel because we're using a more energy efficient system somewhere else in the farm, we can say 50 kilowatt hours of fuel here, and that's going to be step D. Step E is where we're going to estimate any estimated energy use increases in other areas of the farm. So it's almost the reverse of step D here. So if we use a more efficient TMR mixer, but that TMR mixer somehow required more raw materials or more transportation around the farm, we would report that value here as well. So we're using 50 kilowatt hours more diesel because we're using an energy efficient project or an energy efficient system. Okay, so now that we've got all that completed, we're going to complete the F row, which is basically where we're going to estimate the total new annual whole farm energy usage after implementing your proposed project. So we calculate this for each column. We're going to calculate the baseline, 5,000 in this case, minus total C, minus 20, minus total D, plus total E. So this number minus this number, minus this number, plus this number. So this project is relatively easy. We only have a few calculations to do. So 5,000 minus 20 minus 0 plus 0 is 4,980. And we're going to type that in here. Luckily, because this is a relatively simple project and there are no other savings in, say, natural gas or propane or diesel, all of these other values are 0, and there's nothing filled out for any of the optional rows. So I'm just going to type in this value minus 0, plus 0, which is just this value again. So 27,050. 14,180, and then 3,750. And the form's automatically going to sum all of those up into your total F here. And you're going to get your total F. And that's the value that you're going to put into question 18 in your application questionnaire. This box here is just if you describe any additional energy increases or savings here. Basically, you're going to describe and provide more detail into row D and row E. So fuel savings, transport, decreased transport. That's where you'd put that description. Again, because my project has nothing in those rows, I'm just going to put not applicable. Okay, so we're almost finished. Step 4 involves us calculating or estimating the energy savings from our proposed energy efficiency improvement project for our entire farm operation. So if we implement our increased lighting or our increased energy efficient lighting, how much in terms of percentage are we going to save in energy usage for our entire farm? So in kilowatt hours. So this total here is our baseline, 49,980 from this step here, and it's already been populated. So we're going to calculate our whole farm savings. This is not our F value. This is only our total C, which is this row, minus our total D, plus our total E. It is not the F value. That is very important. So 20 minus 0 plus 0 is 20. Nice and simple. And there's one more tiny percentage calculation to do. So if we calculate line 1 divided by line 2 times 100, so 20 divided by 49,980 times 100. And that's the value that we come away with in percent. So we are going to come away with 0.04% energy savings for our farm. Okay, and then there's one final step here. Step 5 is where we're going to estimate the reduction in fossil fuel energy usage as a result of our proposed project. So to do table step 5, we're only going to consider the fossil fuel energy sources reported in step 2A to determine the annual reduction in fossil fuels for our project. We're not including the energy efficiency from savings from electricity. So because our project, if we go all the way back up to 2A here, table 2A, we see that there is no baseline or fossil fuel or new energy use associated with fossil fuels at all. So in our case, for our example, we're not going to fill this part out, but that's where you would get these values. And then you're going to come away with a final kilowatt hour value that you're going to need to answer question 7. Okay, so that just about does it for the ASLEE worksheet. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to contact scap@ontariosoilcrop.org. I hope this has been an important resource to help you completing your ASLEE worksheet and your ASI applications for large-scale energy efficiency improvements. Best of luck with your projects.